After rising throughout last week, the NSE All Share Index begins this week slightly lower, down about 0.06%, closing at 39,222 points. The major losers on the day include Lafarge Wapco, Nestle Nigeria, UAC, high-flying Transcorp is also down today, and NASCON. And on the flip side, we saw Forte Oil, Presco, GT Bank, and GlaxoSmithKline post gains today. Joining me now from the stock exchange is David Andori, General Manager at Lambeck Trust and Investment. David, thank you very much for joining us. So finally, the market fell back a little bit. I think the big story here today is that we actually saw quite a few of the large consumer goods companies fall back. What are your thoughts on the drivers of this move?
Yeah, Transcorp had actually been the main driver of the equities market for the past 1 or 2 weeks, and it served as the arrowhead that pulled the entire market into a sustained rally. And along the line, investors also started inching into several other major stocks in the market. And so when the party technically came to an end today as a result of a severe fatigue suffered by Transcorp, of course, the other big stocks that had been carried along also started losing in terms of demand. And so we can say that the fatigue suffered by Transcorp may have impacted negatively on the other very big stocks in the market.
All right, so Transcorp pushing the market slightly lower, but I guess the price movement doesn't tell the full story. Can you just talk us through the extent to which people are selling right now? Do you think this is just minor profit taking, or do you think this is the beginning of a free fall for that stock that has, of course, done extremely well over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the bull run on Transcorp gave an indication on Friday that perhaps fatigue has set in, because on Friday at a point in time there was panic in the market, and the stock was actually heavily offloaded by a lot of speculators who had jumped into the bandwagon. And so it became evident that that rally may not be sustained today in the market, and precisely that was what happened. Well, it's not unusual for fatigue to set in for a stock that had been on rally for a very, very long time, especially when speculators start taking profits, and then other speculators start running for cover along the line. And so that of Transcorp was seriously sustained for a very long time. There were times when panic actually set in, but dramatically the security recovered along the line. Some other major stocks that climbed as a result of the rally on Transcorp was Owando. Unfortunately, his own rally fizzled out as investors were not prepared to sustain their demand for that security.
Right.
So the party has come technically or tentatively to an end, because we don't really know what is up again for Transcorp.
But what do you think? Where do you see this price going for this stock?
It's going to be difficult to predict, because when Transcorp got to about 2 naira something, a lot of speculators jumped out and people felt that that was the end of the road. There was a dramatic recovery at 4 naira again. The security also declined until a dramatic recovery occurred. But right. However, what we're seeing now actually started on Friday, and today the massive supply in the market makes it difficult for one to think that a dramatic recovery can occur. But one can only see perhaps a stability creeping in probably from Wednesday to Thursday, and the equilibrium price of that security will thereafter prevail in the market.
Let's talk about another high flyer, Forte Oil. It's among the gainers today, and we know it has been falling back recently. Where do you see this stock headed?
Yeah, Forte Oil was another stock that experienced a highly sustained rally over a long period of time. And before the rally on Transcorp actually came in, Fort Oil together with corn oil held sway in the equities market, driving the market up remarkably. But they also came to their various points of fatigue and came down. Perhaps investors have started seeing some value in Fort Oil again. You know, it moves in cycles. When it was Fort Oil that was undergoing the rally, other securities were down. And now Transcorp that took over from Fort Oil has come to a point of fatigue, and so investors have gone back to FO. But you'll see there is a common factor behind the rally for the two securities, and that is their investment in the Nigerian power industry.
Right.
You know, and that is still a very strong, compelling factor that could positively influence those securities.
Right. I want to get your thoughts about what we could read into these movements we're seeing, particularly with Forte Oil and Transcorp. Many people would not put them in the class of the blue chip, the pick of the pack, if you like, on the market. I think a lot of people will suggest that the banks and perhaps some of the multinational consumer goods companies are in that class. So now we're seeing some other stocks move significantly. What, in your view, does this suggest about the interest of investors and the appetite to take risk in the equity market, particularly speculators in this market?
Yeah, we have a lot of speculative activities occurring in some securities, especially those securities that don't have a long history of strong fundamentals. That is, they have not been consistent in dividend payment. However, we have those securities, especially in the banking sector, that appear to be latent. And with the speculators probably being driven to the backstage now, the real investors are sorting out those securities with intrinsic value. And so you can see what happened to GT Bank today is one of the stocks with intrinsic value. There are many others in the banking sector that investors will start seriously paying attention to. There are also others, especially in the food and beverages sector. We looked at National Salt the other day. That is a stock with a very rich history of dividend payout. And then we are seeing Dangote Sugar, although it declined today, but you'll see that it has a strong history and is also expanding massively in terms of massive investment in the Nigerian economy. And a few others that have probably not been looked at, like Mobile in the oil and gas sector. So they will progressively fall under the focus of investors as we move gradually to the end of the year.